Welcome back to the FinX weekly edition. This is where I go over the names that are buzzing on Financial X, aka FinX, to see if there's any legitimate reason, whether they are buzzing at that point in time, whether we should see if there's any opportunities we can take advantage of, or if we should just let it be. So firstly, FSLY, Fastly. This had earnings on Wednesday, gapped up huge, nice 72% move, followed by 13% move. Just one thing that I noticed right off the bat is what this name likes to does. Earnings, gaps, makes a little move, sells off, chops, and does nothing. If we look back here, earnings, gaps, sells off, chops around, doesn't really do anything. Even back here, earnings, gaps, makes a little move, sells off, chops around, fails to really do anything. So I think this name has a little bit more to prove. This could be it. There's a huge gap here. This is not a name I would chase personally, but if you can't help yourself, what the potential something you can do is anchor a VWAP from the earnings and see how price respects that volume weighted average price and kind of go from there. But I'm not super interested in it. It has potential, but I really think it needs time to digest basically a 90% move in like 2 days, which is insane. Congrats if you already own it, but I'm not chasing the same. RIVN, the Heartbreak, obviously earnings, gaps up, indecision doji. There's a quote unquote war going on between sellers and buyers here, whatever. Bigger grand scheme of things, it's still not doing anything. It continues to be the Heartbreak. I see this name all the time on X. And it moves and then all of a sudden it fails and just gives it all back. But the nice thing is, I suppose, you can make an argument for it is making higher highs and higher lows each time it sells off. So you have that going for you if you are a fan of this name. But, it long term, I suppose. Maybe short term, again, if you want to dive down to the 30-minute, I already anchored a VWAP here. See how price respects the volume weighted average price from this point in time. If price is above, that means buyers are above water. If price is below, that means buyers are underwater. So it kind of measures the pressure. VRT, this one actually looks pretty solid. So if you go out to the weekly, there's a nice base. It gapped into all-time highs off earnings. There's some sort of catalyst going on. I read it earlier, but I kind of forgot already, to be honest with you. Either way, we have a gap here. What we can do, anchor VWAP from the earnings, see where price respects that. We'll see if we get a gap fill at some point in time, but really what I would prefer, this is actually a pretty good look. So nice base, break out of that base to all-time highs on a catalyst, i.e. earnings. So what we can do actually is wait for a time correction or a price correction. You can use the 8 EMA and the 21 EMA. All the EMAs are up. The 200 here is starting to curl upwards. It's been sloping upwards, and now it's getting a little heftier curve to it. The 50 is starting to go up, and then the short terms are up now too. So I would wait for a price correction to the 8 or a time correction. It just chops around and lets the 8 catch up. See how much of the gap actually fills. And then go from there. I'd give it a few more days, but at least let it touch the ADMA to see how it reacts, because this is just indecision here. You can see in the prior, when it uptrended here for a short period of time from September to October, it respected the 8 EMA there. So I would watch that. VRT actually looks pretty solid. Viking, I think it was something on their weight loss drugs passing a phase 3. Also looks like it had earnings, gapped up, and then ended up selling off, up 6.8%, and then just sells off another 5% the next day. I would just bypass this. Short-term EMAs are down, long-term EMAs are down. It's just not a good look. Let's move on. Micron, that is. This, I was saying a couple weeks ago that the 50 EMA, I'm sorry, just last week, the 50 EMA was likely. Obviously, I was wrong there, which is fine. Maybe it just kind of chops around and digests. As long as it holds this 350-ish to 345 area, maybe it fills in this here and then breaks out to make another run, something like this. And then, breaks out and and away we go. That's a potential, but also the the breakdown is also potential too, especially on overall market weakness. Coin had earnings. This one looks pretty decent. However, we can kind of anticipate this. Not necessarily what happened on earnings, but if you look out to where it's again at a prior historical support level, and it's coming from 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, at least 3 if you want to count last week, 3 weeks of just selling off. It sold off. Let's see here. I'll say from the week of January 12th to the lows of last week, 47% within 4 weeks from high to lows into a prior support area. So I would anticipate a bounce here. Maybe this little undercut and fail to move lower on earnings, next 16%. This is where it starts to base and chop around. But overall, if you're trying to catch this, you're trying to catch a falling knife, in my opinion. Good luck. I hope you manage your risk. But things need to work out. It's kind of broken. The 200's going down, the 50's going down, the 21 and the 8's going down. Everything's going down, EMA wise. So this is, if you're trying to catch a dead cat bounce, then fine, good luck. But it needs some work, in my opinion. But short term, it might be okay. Let's go GFS. GFS looks okay. Looks like more like a trend reversal. So if you can see the 200 EMA going down, 50 starting to chop around. We have a quote unquote golden cross here. 50 crosses the 200. We have the short-term EMAs going up. So short-term wise, it looks pretty good. If you want to look at prior resistance levels, it did indeed break and hold this area here. So that looks pretty decent. I'd say maybe next area of potential quote unquote supply here would be that area here. Looks like, and I'm just zooming in. It's basically wherever it failed last, right? So it's not that complicated. Didn't mean to do that. So what is that? 52-ish level, 53 to 52, somewhere in there. So it's got another 10% or so. It's holding the anchor VWAP from earnings. If you want to go down to the 30-minute, every time it tags it, gets closer, it respects it. It's holding the short-term EMA, 8 and 21, everything's curling up. So it looks decent. Next level would be 52, 53 level. KLAC, KLA Corporation. This looks pretty decent as well. So earnings, it got hit on earnings. I did set an anchor VWAP from earnings. Price is over it right now. So the average participant from earnings is now above water. I also have an anchor VWAP from the all-time highs the day of. We can make it a little bit more specific and say, hey, from the actual all-time high bar, 30-minute bar. And you can see that individuals, the average participant in this market since that point in time is above water. So it's turning around. It's above the 8 and 21 EMAs. The 50's curling up. So this could be a potential dip buy. If we look at the weekly here, the trend is obviously still up. The week prior, we undercut the lows of the year and just rallied. So honestly, this looks pretty decent. This could be a nice, decent little dip buy. What you could do, let's go back to the 30-minute. If you're like a trend line person, you can go, okay, let's take a trend line for the last 3 days. We are finding some sellers, but until it breaks this downtrend line area, maybe once it breaks out here, pulls back, and then it can go, maybe then it'll go and fill this gap here. So there's a gap fill potential. All right, let's go. I keep a history of the prior names just to kind of get a gear of what's going on. I don't know what's with this wick on TSM, but if you go down, it's not there. So TSM still remains strong. It broke out last week. I think this was one of my top 3 for last week. Broke out, had a nice move, 5% in the week. SMCI, this is not doing anything. It's chopping around, right? And even the EMAs, all these lines here, they're going down. Don't waste your time unless you're trying to short. BE has been a little aggravating if you're trying to trade it. I don't trade it, but it holds where it needs to, but then it fails again. It holds where it needs to, but then it fails again. So it failed again. It's now at the 50. You just need some sort of direction here. Otherwise, you try and trade this like barcoding. It's even sloppy barcoding. You'll get chopped to bits. So good luck with that. RGTI. This could be a double bottom here. I'm not calling it because in my book you still have to break the prior resistance and then retest it to become support. So potential here. Also in an area, prior demand area, there's a lot of price action in this area, so it's probably a high volume node here. It's an area of interest. Maybe it builds out and turns around, but honestly, the short-term MAs, I wouldn't count on it. I would wait for the MAs to start to curl, price get above those, and then go from there. PLTR, I did sell my long-term holdings here. I may have sold at a terrible spot, but I made nice gains. It's 36% off the highs. I'm not willing to risk what I have made on that, which is fine. But it is at a prior area or an interesting area from this base breakout. So it's kind of retesting that. But the biggest thing is that the 200 is starting to go down. The 50 is clearly going down. Short term is going down. I think this needs to base, and then you can set up somewhere. Otherwise, short term wise, this still might, it looks pretty bad. So unless we get back into this 150 range to, I'll say 185, 190 area, it's got to be within this area here. Until it does that, I'm not super confident in it. MSTR, this has a potential. Earnings had a nice bounce off earnings, then it flagged, hit the 8 EMA, sold off a little bit, closed above the 8 EMA. Everything is still trending down. This could be turning around. Overall, I don't know. I'm not a super fan of it, especially with all of this potential supply overhead. So we'll see how much actually comes out from this area and to see if it continues to push price down on further market weakness. AMD just continues to chop around in range, not doing anything. Tesla still not doing anything. Hood getting crushed. It's also a name that I sold all of my long-term holdings in, which is fine. Again, in an area of interest, but 50% off all-time highs. That's not typically what a healthy name does. So it's got some headwinds coming its way. Maybe has a quote-unquote death cross if you trade that type of stuff coming up next week on continued weakness. So we'll see. NVIDIA, not really doing anything, continue to chop around. Has nice relative strength to it, but still not doing anything. ONDS getting hit, downtrending underneath short-term EMAs. NBIX, Nebius, looks pretty good, continues to fill in a triangle. If you've been watching my videos over the past week, this is a scenario that I had in there. We just need to wait for a breakout here, maybe retest this 110, pull back to retest this 100, and then we go. But overall, it's building a base, it's building out. Long term, it looks pretty decent. Anything down here, especially by the 200 EMA. But overall, it's still not trending. It's chopping around. So I would wait. I would wait. IREN Limited. This continues to build a base, chop around, not really taking a launch, but it has potential for a longer term, just not ready yet. Zeta, I was saying, hey, this could be a decent risk area, especially on last Friday with a risk below Thursday's low. Tight, right? But it just bounced to 8 EMA that was going down and sold off. So this is no longer holding in support. This could be an oopsies where it fails and then accepts back in the range. But until it does that, it looks like it's going down. LRCX, this looks interesting. The EMAs are still going up. 50 EMAs going up. Could have been a dip buy down here. We'll see if it continues on, but it looks pretty decent. Even if you look out at the weekly, it's hitting all-time highs on the weekly. So a little bit of indecision here, but we'll see what happens. Looks okay. Rackalab, not interested right now, downtrending. Path, not interested right now, downtrending, right? CRWV, CoreWeave, pretty solid business long term, continues to fill this out, continues to find supply at this downtrend line area. Higher lows are being made, so maybe it just gets tight and pops off. We'll see, but it's still not doing anything yet. I think it'll be in play shortly, maybe in a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks or so. We'll actually see. Rocket potential, RKT potential double bottom here. It's choppy sloppy. Planet Labs, it's holding where it needs to. Maybe it continues to base out. I do have an anchored VWAP from this high here. It is still underneath it. I have an anchored VWAP from the all-time highs, which it's 27% off of. From here, still underneath it. So it looks like it's starting to build a base. Maybe it starts curling around and heading higher. I still think it might need some time. IonQ still holding below this prior level support. Could be a double bottom, but just could be like time correcting, letting the ADMA catch up and sells off. Doesn't look good. EOSE, it's kind of at a make or break level right now. If this breaks, it's going to be, we'll have a lot of overhead supply here. So this would be more of a stage 4 and then downtrending into a stage 3, then a stage 3 distribution, then downtrends into a stage 4, especially if it breaks this 200 EMA. We shall see. Maybe a level of interest would be 750. Nah. KTOS, not really doing anything. Downtrending. Wait until it breaks this downtrend line. Nothing significant. MTSI, this was a top look for last week, closed 3.5% of the week. Not too bad. Just kind of chopped around and kind of found its footing, but it actually might start to trend. We'll see, but still looks good. It's hitting all-time highs. So trend is your friend until it dies in the end. Bends in the end, however you want to say it. Fresh Pet, this is just a sloppy mess. I don't know why that's popular. Looks no. Target was another pick of mine last week. Basically, it did nothing. Time corrected though. This is a nice example of a time correction. So price chops around at barcodes and lets the short term, in this instance, the 8 EMA catch up. Target still looks good moving into next week. eBay got hit. Still not doing anything. It's in range. Let's move forward. USAR, you got the gap up and it did nothing but sell off. Don't chase that stuff. SMR, this looks pretty weak. High volume on a red day, low volume on a green day at prior support. I'd watch for the breakdown. This looks lower. FLNC looks weak, got hit, it's broken. LAR, maybe it builds out a base here, but the 21 EMA is still acting as resistance. The anchor VWAP from the all-time high is acting as, not all-time, prior high, sorry, is acting as resistance. This 725 to 716 area is acting as resistance. It's a small, like, no, just I wouldn't touch it. PayPal, this got hit on earnings. Time correcting, probably letting the 8 EMA catch up. Maybe it, chops around here, builds a base and starts curling on upwards. But honestly, the name's broken. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. All right, that's it. Moving into next week, I really like Target. Target still looks good. That'll be a top 3 in there. FSLY, wouldn't chase it. RIVN continues to be a heartbreak. VRT looks pretty decent. You just got to wait for that to build out and see how much of the gap that fills in. Viking, no. Micron looks okay. Coin, meh. GFS looks okay. KLAC, that looks pretty decent. It could pop there with the if it breaks that downtrend there, the short term. So overall, TSM looks still pretty good too. All right, there you go. Those are the names that are buzzing around on FinX. Always manage your risk. Be mindful of who you listen to. Just don't listen to the people that constantly pump names, send rocket emojis and things like that. They're most likely not real traders. So just be mindful who you listen to. And always manage your risk. Always have a plan. Always prepare ahead of time. Trade safe. Later.